What are some stories you guys remember from Dad? I don't know. It's got to be good. Anything you remember from Dad in your life?
Well, I remember when we were younger, when we first went to Disneyland.
I was 7.
So I must have been 6.
Yeah.
I was too short to get on most of the rides. So you know how they line you up against the wall and they measure you against the stick?
Yeah.
I couldn't get on any of them, so Dad was allowing me to stand on his foot so I could gain those extra couple of inches every single time.
I didn't know that.
So I was just barely able to get on all the cool rides.
And they didn't even notice.
No one even
that's
said
funny.
anything, or they just are looking at the top of your head anyway. So
Well, I think I have an earliest memory that involves Mom pulling up to a campus in a minivan. And we're all in the back, and I remember Dad running out of a building.
BBC, right?
And
college.
jumping in the passenger seat. And I just remember Dad was working and going to school, and I just have this little glimpse of him running out and jumping in the van. That's the earliest memory that I can put together.
Mustache bristling in the wind.
Yeah. But a more fun memory
Yeah.
is I remember when we lived in Haven, and Dad comes home with a go-kart that he bought for $50, and Mom's extremely upset because this was I think we were going to go out to dinner that night, and they had budgeted $50 for a nice dinner, and Dad's just like, but I got a go-kart, and it didn't even run.
it ran sometimes.
We
We
were so excited
Yeah.
that there was we didn't care about dinner, we wanted a go-kart, and then it hardly ran. And
Yeah.
I just remember like selling it or giving it to our neighbor,
And he
who
got
had
it
it running
that day.
It's just like
Oh, man.
we saw a go-kart running around the neighborhood, but we weren't in it.
I probably was 2 or 3 years old, and we were living at the apartments in
Haven?
Missouri,
Or-
Springfield, Missouri. You may not have even been born yet. And I remember Dad taking me out the sliding glass door in the apartment and taking me out to the side lawn and teaching me to play catch in the yard as a really little kid. and it was cool because I had no presence of mind of like, wow, this is a great father-son moment. Hey, Austin. I didn't, I was just a little kid, and my dad was teaching me to play catch, which was great. But now, like, as an older person, and knowing more about Dad, and knowing more about, like, what his childhood was like, and Grandpa, like, Dad never played baseball as a kid. And his dad never threw the ball with him. And so...
You know that for a fact?
Yeah, I've asked him. But... that just wasn't what Grandpa did. It wasn't his thing. But, no, I don't know for certain, but I know he didn't play baseball in high school. I know he wasn't a baseball player. But that's what, like, him being a young father, that's what he wanted to do with me to be a good dad. He took me out to play baseball in the yard.
In hindsight, it has more meaning.
Yeah, exactly. In hindsight, I realized, wow, it's, it was fun as a kid, but now it's, like, more powerful.
I'm sure
Shout out to Grandpa.
I love Grandpa.
Happy Father's Day to him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On my 17th birthday, Grandpa gives me a call on the phone. And I pick it up. Hey, LJ. I'm like, hey, Grandpa. He's like, how old are you today? Well, I'm 17. When I was 17, I was in the Navy. Oh, cool, Grandpa. Yeah. You know what I used to do with my money? No. Well, I'd spend the first 2 weeks, spend it all on booze. Oh, cool. But I'd also buy a bunch of apples, and I'd make wine. Then when my money ran out, I'd drink my apple wine till I got paid again.
I have this memory of us going to a circus at a really young age. But it also could have been a dream. I remember Dad just being in front of all the high schoolers and middle schoolers
Oh, yeah.
when he was a youth pastor with his, like,
Fake
hillbilly teeth.
Yeah. Yeah, Dad was super cool. I remember going to youth groups and stuff and playing games with the youth group kids and hanging out with them and being like, my dad's awesome.
Yeah, we were all younger than that. But
Yeah.
play some foosball up here.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Hanging out with all the
Sure.
youth group kids and watching Dad do his thing. Did Dad teach you guys how to ride a bike?
Yeah.
How did that go?
I don't remember it very well, really. I just know that he did. I don't really.
Yeah, I just remember that running push-off.
Oh yeah, I remember now some good crashes.
Yeah.
There was definitely a lot. He believed in me more than I was able to ride the bike. That's for sure. It was too soon with the letting go. He would do a surprise let go.
Yo, 1, 2.
Yeah.
There you go.
You're doing it. You're like, oh, it's fall over.
Yeah, we were at the same apartments when he taught me to ride the bike. And, sending me off and I'm falling, and he gets this idea. We need more speed. And the apartment complex that we had was on like kind of like a hillside, and so there was a sidewalk and some grass. It's my first time riding a bike, so I've fallen over a few times down on the flat ground. So he takes me up there. He lets me go, and I'm like, all right, pedaling. I got this. I'm like staying up, but the apartment complex just is getting closer and closer. And I don't know how to brake, and I don't know how to turn, and I just smack right into it.
No.
What about you guys punching each other in the face?
Yeah. That's a classic
I
one.
mean, that's the thing about those stories is nobody tells them like Dad.
Yeah, that's true.
Like even the stories that he has with his brothers growing up.
Yep.
They're all really good at telling stories.
Yeah.
If it comes from Dad, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, that's true.
I try to retell that story where I punched you in the face, and it's not as good as when Dad does it. As far as activities go, memories with Dad, I just
Fishing.
always think about fishing.
Yeah.
Like, whether I was a sophomore in high school fishing with Dad or I was 5, I mean, just him, like, throughout the years, tying our knots, getting our poles rigged up.
We went
We
so
spent so much time in the bushes.
Getting us unstuck.
yeah, getting unstuck the whole time.
Yeah.
That fishing trip with Dad and Grandpa and everyone was really
Oh,
fun.
that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like maybe the last time that everyone was
all together. Frank running off into the woods chasing that bear with a
I
camera.
went with him. I went with him.
Uncle Frank. Oh man.
Everyone was talking about how dumb it was, and I was like, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun Uncle Frank. And that's it. He's got this 50-watt light, and he's got a camera, and he's just chasing after the bear.
15 watt. 15
It was a million candlelight.
The million candle.
Yeah.
spotlight.
Grandpa's light. Frank, get back here! I remember Dad telling us stories before bed. It was pretty fun. Always making up new, ridiculous, nonsensical stories to tell us.
And then we had to go to bed, and we were all in the same room,
Yeah.
and we weren't allowed to talk. It was nighttime. We weren't allowed to talk anymore. And then we still would. And then slowly, one person at a time would get quiet. And then you realize other people are getting quiet. And you look at the door, and you'd be standing there. And you just know you're busted. What? You don't remember that? I don't remember that when we were little. It was just,
Oh, in the apartment complex.
It was one of the places that when we were really little and we all were in the same room, and we'd all just be talking just in late hours of the night.
I remember there was like a strategy to fall asleep, and who could you pin it on? And like
You were doing that. None of us were doing that.
Not-
You told us that later that you did that.
not getting in trouble. Like, falling
were
asleep used to
diving.
be like a circus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Fighting each other, wrestling each other.
Glow in the dark underwear.
That's what happens
Well,
when you
we
have
all had glow in the dark.
Three
underwear.
boys
Yeah,
in
we
one
had
room.
those.
Well, that it's basically character and work ethic. It's just both are so rock solid. They never give way, no matter what.
Yeah.
For me, I'd say, I don't often worry about money, and I think it's because of Dad. Because I've seen him work hard, going from job to job. I've seen him with no money step out in faith and give people money because he felt like God told him to. Yeah. And I've seen God return favor to him because of that. And I think my ability to trust in the Lord just comes from following Dad's example of that. And the first thing I think of is with money, but it's in all things. Trusting God. Dad has been like the primary example for what that looks like for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that time where we were struggling pretty hard financially. Lived on Western, and we got leaf blowers and rakes, and he took us out every day, and we went and worked. We went and got jobs, and we ran a little business for a couple of months. And
think about how many times we did that in our childhood. Newspapers.
Yeah, we did the news. Well, I think
raking.
Well, Dad had another job at the time. I think he did that for us. I think he wanted us to feel what it was like to get up and work and earn some money. But yeah, I remember that, getting in the car and listening to the police and like doing the 3:30 in the morning. He'd get up with us and do paper out with us, and then he'd go to work.
I'll never forget getting in and out of our heated van and listening to the police.
Yeah.
Like, that's why the police, the cars, some of that music is some of my favorite music to this day because of those memories that are attached to them.
Yeah, totally.
Journey, greatest hits.
Yeah, the police is totally like Mittens and Frostbit trying to throw newspapers at somebody's landed on somebody's
I always
porch.
go back to that. Because, like, I think what it was is I liked being in the van so much because it was warm.
Yeah.
And that's where all the music was playing also.
Yeah.
So they just like formed this like awesome like memory relationship in my head. I'm like, I love the police. The police are warm. But yeah, that's a really admirable trait about Dad, that he always, whether it was, he never had too much pride.
Yeah.
He would, if it meant going out and probably spending money he didn't have on leaf blowers and rakes to pay the bills, then that's what it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, going from job to job as a salesman, or he sold cars. He worked at Roar paint printing, and like it's the jobs throughout the years. He's done so many different things.
And even in well, first of all, you guys remember Excel?
Yes.
Yeah. that didn't go very well, but in real estate, it doesn't seem that promising when you get into real estate and get started.
Yeah.
And he just caught his stride. I mean, it's actually amazing that he did so well.
Yeah.
Well, his motto when he started the business was, "A good name is greatly to be valued," or is valuable beyond riches, or something. It's from Proverbs. And if there's anything that
good name is
rather to be chosen than great riches.
Yeah. If there's anything anybody could say about Dad, it's that he has a good name. Like,
yeah.
If I met a person who had a bad thing to say about Dad, I wouldn't trust them because they don't know him, firstly, and they don't have a good choice of character. People that know Dad love him, respect him. He has a good name,
Yeah.
He's a righteous man. He's an honest man. He's a hardworking man. So those are things that I admire in him. And you mentioned humility. Like, that's something I've always admired in Dad. Like a strength and humility, not like a depravity. Not like self-loathing or anything like that, but
strength
just
and humility, yeah.
Yeah, strong humility. Like I remember I don't even know what the context was, but this was like pivotal for me as a child. Dad got upset at me and raised his voice, which he rarely did. I think we might have been on a car trip or something. And then, half an hour later, he pulled me aside and asked for my forgiveness for it. Said that, hey, I apologize. He said that I was, he's like, I shouldn't have done that. Sorry that I yelled, and then communicated his feelings to me that I was misbehaving and needed correction. But
right,
I just remember being like, "Whoa, this is my dad, and he's apologizing to me, like in a place of humility and love. Like that's weird, but it's powerful imagery for me about what it means to be a man."
Yeah.
Well, if there was something, if Dad were here, say if it were Father's Day, I would want to just tell him that I love him and appreciate him, and that he was always there for me. And I guess as a last thought, he was very, very encouraging throughout these through everything. I mean,
Yeah.
starting with selling candy bars door to door. He loved that. I mean, he
Hustling
was
our
on
neighbors and
board.
working
He
for
was
us.
on board, and he loved that. He thought it was really cool, and you know, he always came to all of our rugby games, and then he would support us and everything. I mean, with even when I was doing cross country in middle school, I was terrible at it. He would just be screaming on the sidelines. You know, it's
Go
just,
get him, Caleb.
it's not even a competitive sport. It's just, you're just running. You know. So I really appreciate that about him, that he's always supporting all the different things because we all have gone complete different directions.
Yeah. Dad has always been a guy that encourages dreams. He's always been a guy that encourages, has always told us that we could do anything that we wanted in this life, is if we believed in it and worked hard towards it. And Dad's, lived that out in his life, worked towards things and achieved those goals. And yeah, I've always appreciated that about Dad too. Super encouraging.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir? Doctor?
Doctor,
Doctor?
I concur.
Doctor?
Do you concur?